Let's think about your digital life for a second. I'm talking your emails, your bank account, all those photos you have saved. Now picture all of that stuff tucked away inside a digital fortress. It's a pretty strong fortress, right? But it is constantly being tested. I mean, it is basically under siege 24/7. So in this explainer, we're going to break down who's actually trying to get in, what kind of weapons they're using, and most importantly, how you can become the commander of your own digital defense.
So let me ask you straight up, is your digital life under siege? The honest answer for pretty much all of us is, yeah, probably. Every single day, there are forces out there trying to find a way in, and the very first step to defending your fortress is knowing exactly who you're up against.
Okay, so let's meet these attackers. And you might be surprised, not all of them are the bad guys you see in movies. The world of cybersecurity, well, it's a little more complicated than just good versus evil. Now, the main way they attack is, of course, hacking. At its core, hacking is pretty simple. It's just finding a weak spot, a little crack in the wall, maybe a loose lock, and then using it to get inside a system where you're not supposed to be. But the reason they're doing it, well, that's what really matters. And that brings us to two totally different kinds of hackers. So on one side, you've got the white hats. Think of them as your fortress's own security team. You actually hire them to legally test your defenses, find the weak spots, and report back, all so you can make your fortress stronger. But then, on the other side, you've got the black hats. These are the thieves, the spies. Their goal is 100% malicious, to steal your stuff, cause chaos, and just generally mess up your day. And just to make things interesting, you also have gray hats. These folks are the real wild cards. They might break into your system without asking, but instead of wrecking the place, they might just send you a note saying, hey, you should probably fix this. They operate in that murky gray area right between right and wrong. All right, that's enough about the attackers. Let's talk about you. How do you actually defend this fortress of yours? Well, it really boils down to two fundamental things: your walls and your secret codes. First up, the firewall. This is basically the main wall and the head gatekeeper of your entire digital fortress. It is on duty 24/7, inspecting everything and everyone trying to get in or out. It follows a super strict set of rules that you set, blocking anything shady and letting all the friendly traffic pass right on through. It is your first and, honestly, your most important line of defense. So what about all the valuable stuff inside the walls? Your messages, your passwords, your files? Well, that's where encryption comes in. Think of it like a secret language, a secret code that only you and the person you're talking to can understand. It takes your normal, readable data, which we call plain text, and scrambles it into a totally unreadable mess called ciphertext. That way, even if a spy manages to snatch one of your messages, all they're going to see is a bunch of gibberish. Okay, so we know who's attacking, and we know what our basic defenses are. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's look at the actual weapons and tactics the enemy uses to try and tear down our walls. One of the most common attacks out there isn't about brute force. It's about tricking you into lowering the drawbridge yourself. This is called phishing. It's a game of deception where an attacker pretends to be someone you trust, like your bank or maybe a coworker, to fool you into just handing over your keys. And this is the perfect example. I'm willing to bet you've seen an email that looks almost exactly like this one. It creates this feeling of panic, of urgency, and it pushes you to click that link before you even have time to think. They're counting on that fear to bypass all of your fancy defenses. It's a psychological weapon, really.
Then you've got the less subtle approach, the brute force attack. This is the digital version of an army showing up with a million different keys and trying every single one on your castle gate until one finally works. It's an automated system just hammering away, trying billions of password combinations, hoping to eventually get lucky.
So how in the world do you defend against something like that? It's surprisingly simple. You just have to create a key that is nearly impossible to guess or to stumble upon. A long, complex password that mixes up characters. It just dramatically increases the number of possible combinations to the point where a brute force attack becomes completely useless. Of course, the attacker's toolbox is pretty big. They might try to sneak in some malware, like a virus or ransomware, disguised as something harmless. They could launch a DDoS attack, which is like trying to cram 1 million people through your front gate at once, so no one legitimate can get through. Or they could pull off a man-in-the-middle attack, which is like a spy secretly listening in on your private conversations. Okay, I know that was a lot of scary stuff. It might even feel a little overwhelming. But here's the good news. Defending your fortress really just comes down to a few consistent, practical habits. So let's open up your official Defender's Playbook. Here it is, a simple 5-step checklist. Number 1, update your software regularly. Think of it as reinforcing your walls with the latest security patches. 2, use those strong, complex passwords we just talked about. 3, make sure your firewall is on. Your gatekeeper has to be on duty. 4, limit who has access to what. Not everyone needs the keys to the entire kingdom. And finally, number 5, back up your important data. If the worst should happen, you'll have a copy of all your treasures tucked away in a separate safe vault.
And this is probably the most important thing to remember. None of this requires you to be some kind of cybersecurity genius. These are just simple, daily duties. You are the commander of your fortress, and these are your responsibilities.
So let me leave you with this final thought. You can build the strongest walls imaginable. You can use the most complex secret codes. Your fortress can be, for all intents and purposes, totally secure. But after all of that, what if you're the one accidentally leaving the gate wide open? At the end of the day, the strongest defense always starts with the person in charge.